but embrace the passion.
Yeah.
The passion is where, like, that's where everything comes from.
Yeah.
That is the key.
Yeah.
That unlocks the door to success.
Got the sage burning up in the crib. Shawty wanna see how I live. First I gotta see what a vibe like. You know that it come for good the whole night. Pain on a young nigga's mind. Meditate all of the
A lot
time.
of people fear failure, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of that lack of experience, people kind of blind themselves in a sense that they're afraid to have that experience, right? But that experience teaches them so much,
Yeah.
right? And like with this experience, you get awareness from it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the more awareness you have, the better you'll be off, right? Because like you look at things such as decision making, right? It kind of when you're looking at just different fields such as medicine, such as just kind of any perspective that you're trying to take, right?
Mm-hmm.
That lack of perspectives, that lack of information that you have leads to ignorance,
Yeah.
right? And kind of in that sense, you're hurting yourself, right? Because that knowledge is out there. That knowledge does not cost anything, right? That knowledge you can have, right? You just have to be willing to gain that knowledge, right? And gain that intuitive knowing, that wisdom that we talked about,
Yeah.
that like applied knowledge. And kind of with that, you got to go in head first, right?
Yeah.
And like even with this YouTube channel, like my channel does dog shit, right? On a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have control over the videos I post. I have control over the process of editing, the process of shooting, what we're doing right now, the producing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than consuming, right? And everything I do is kind of in my control, right?
Yeah.
How I respond, how we go about, approaching different circumstances and situations, right? And I don't really pay attention to the views. And like a lot of this kind of relates to what you place your attention on. Are you placing your attention on what people are thinking about you? Are you caring about what other people are thinking about you, right? And it is important to care about what other people think about you to a certain extent,
Yeah.
And kind of with this, you can't be afraid or fear other people's, thoughts about what they say about you because, once again, you're fitting their mold rather than your own authenticity,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like, the fear of failure is very much a cancerous perspective.
Yeah.
Because people refuse to, not refuse to, they forget to allow it to change their perspective. And that's very much a byproduct of outside perception. Because you'll have, going back to the whole comparison thing with, Michael Jordan. And like the greats of basketball or whatever sport you're participating in or whatever you're participating in general, they are praised, and a lot of people chase those kind of empty pursuits. YouTube is a perfect example. A lot of people will use it as a means to an end, as opposed to creating content that they actually enjoy. They'll just feed the viewers shit that they like to garner that attention.
that's just to get the
And you
views.
can't be another thing that's very crucial to failure is not having, or ambition as well, is not having or chasing empty pursuits. All of these are sometimes necessary. Money is very important.
Yeah, of course.
But that's just a byproduct of the world. Where people who do shit they don't like just for money, or they do stuff for attention, or they do stuff for whatever other fruitless pursuit you're looking for. That's not the true way.
Yeah.
The true way is what you, in your very fibers of your being, are pursuing because you love it.
100%.
If you are
Gotta love the failure.
exactly,
Embrace the suck.
embrace the suck,
Yeah.
but embrace the passion.
Yeah.
The passion is where that's where everything comes from.
Yeah.
That is the key.
Yeah.
That unlocks the door to success.
Yeah, 100%, dude. I think, I said this in the last part, but it has to be aligned with your authenticity, right? And like we were saying in the episode before, that is innate, it's natural, it's effortless.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of in that sense, whatever you're striving for, whatever standard you're going for, you kind of have to, look at those failures and say, is it really a failure? Is this really a failure? Mm-hmm. And kind of like what I was saying earlier, what do you define as a failure? What do you define as a success? Because it's different from individual to individual, right? And as you look at that, you can kind of be okay, maybe just because he failed that doesn't have to be a failure for me, right? Because it's different for every single person, right? And kind of like what you were saying, don't just use things as a means to an end, right?
Mm-hmm.
What your means has to be intuitive, right? It has to be natural. It has to be what you genuinely align with. And that failure, right, maybe is the end, right?
Yeah.
And kind of you just can't be blinded by that failure. And when you're blinded by that failure, it kind of just takes you over. And that's
Yeah.
why a lot of people just stop in their tracks, right? And they're not going for what they truly want. And they think it's, it's hard to put in the work, right? It's hard to do all these things, but you got to remember at the same time, you are the masterpiece, right? At the same time, like all this bullshit aside, all the fucking standards, all the beliefs, everything else everyone says, right? What people say about you, their thoughts, their opinions, their views, their perspectives, you got to throw all that shit out the window because at the end of the day, it's just you, right?
Yeah.
And what you have in front of you. And what are you going to do with what is, right? All bullshit aside, all beliefs aside, like what are you going to do,
Yeah.
right? And how do you respond to failure? Because that's in your full control, right? You may not be able to control the result, be attached to outcome, like we were saying earlier, right?
Yeah.
Because that causes tension. There's so much attachment there, and that's really like a big thing with failure. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's a very, toxic belief system. And you can't be having those belief systems, due to the fact that, you're kind of losing your way in your mind.
Yeah.
And if you're caught up in your head, you can't enjoy the moment or pursue, the moment.
Yeah.
Or, not even pursue the mission. That's all you really have to worry about.
I got the sage burning up in the crib. Shawty wanna see how I live. First I gotta see what a vibe like. You know that it come fuck up the whole night. Pain on a young nigga's mind. Meditate all of the time. I don't wanna catch you in the blind. Outgrowing everything left it behind. Leave it all in the past, nigga. Meditate in grass, nigga. I can't tell you life fast, nigga. You know it won't last.